We're on Chapter 2, Lesson 8, Solving Percent Problems. Please turn to page 155. Before we start this lesson, I want to talk about the vocabulary. A proportion is equivalent fractions, or what I call a line equal line. A percent proportion is the same thing, except for I always put my percent on the left-hand side, and it's always based on 100. So percent over 100. When we're talking about part to whole, part always over whole. Why? Because when we talk about these things, we're talking about a whole something. So we know that always, our whole is 100%. So it will always be on the bottom. 100% whole. Oh, look, there's that O again. So we have an O here and an O here, part. And then I can also say is over of. And look, again, there's an O and an O. There's our similarity. And when we're talking about ratios, some of you guys were confused here. We can write it as a fraction, we can write it as a to statement, or we can write it with a colon. And again, a colon is the to dot. All right, and then this is always percent over 100. So in this case, to go from 5 to 100, it's times 20. 2 times 20 is 40, so we have 40% is 40% of 5 is 2. Okay, spent enough time here, let's turn the page. So again, we can do different things to find the whole, and one of those methods is a number line. 10 is always an easy number to remember when we're doing multiples of 10. But I always still like setting this thing up as a proportion. So when I do this, I'm going to set it up as a proportion over here. 100% is over of. Now let's see if we can input the numbers in. So I have 100. Now it says 10 is 25%. Ooh, 25%. That goes here. Why? Because that's my percent number. 10 is. 10 goes on top because that's my is statement. Of what? I don't know. So I'm going to put a box there. Now, when I think about my fractions, I always have to look at my fraction and see if I can simplify it. I have 25 over 100. Can you think of a simplification? How many quarters in a dollar? You guessed it, 4, so that's 1/4. Now, 1 to go to 10 is 10. 4 to go, it would be 40 because we're multiplying by 10. 4 times 10 is 40. So, 10 is 25% of 40. The answer to this problem is 40. And again, I'm probably not going to use a number line. I'm going to go ahead and use a proportion. Let's look at problem number 2. Country music makes up 75% of Landon's music library. If he has downloaded 90 songs, how many does he have in his music library? Okay, so let's do the 100 first because that's the easiest. Now let's do the percent. They gave us 75%, so we'll put that there. Now we've got to think about what the 90 is. Does the 90 go on the top or the bottom? Let's think about it. It says that country music is 75%. Country music is 90. So the 90 has to go on top. Why does the 90 have to go on top? Because it's the same category. Country to total. Country to total. Now again, I'm going to look at my fractions, see if I can simplify it. 75 over 100, that's 3/4. So that's 3 over 4. Now, can I go from 3 to 90? Absolutely. I multiply by 30. So 4 times 30 is 120. So in his total library, he has 120 songs. Of those, 90 are country music. Now it's your turn. Get it, got it, go. Set up a proportion. Pause the video. Did you get what I got? I got $6,300 and $500. And again, I set up proportions. And then I simplified, and then I looked for the relationship. In number C, 60% on the TV costs $300. Therefore, 60% and $300 belong on the top. So again, labels are important to make sure that you put these in the right place. So she had a total of $500, of which she spent $300 on a TV. Turn the page. So, using a percent proportion. Again, they had used a number line, but I think doing the percent proportion right off the bat is the easiest way to do it. And for whatever reason, I just like putting my 100 over on the left. You can put it on the right, but I prefer it on the left. So we have part to whole. And again, the whole is always on the bottom. Why? Because again, it's the whole thing. So number 3, we have 30% of what number? And again, I'm going to put my 100 over on the left because I like that. 30%, 30 goes over the 100 because that's my percent, is 15. Is on the top, so that's my 15. So if I divide by 2, that gives me 50. The answer to this particular problem is 50. All right, let's keep going. Okay, 225 is 75% of what number? Again, my 100 always goes here. My percent will always go above it. Is 225 225? Okay, so this was just a little bit harder. I'm going to simplify my fraction to 3/4, 3 over 4. Then I'm going to come over here and go 3, 2, 2, 5. We know that it goes into that because that's 9. So it goes into that 7 times, it's 21, goes into 15, 5 times. So that's 75. So we know that's times 75. So now I have to multiply 75 times 4. That's 0, that's 2, that's 0, that's 3. So that's 300. 300. So 225 is 75% of 300. So for each of these, set up a proportion. Put your 100 on the bottom. Put your percent on top of that. And these are all is statements, so your number is going to go in the upper right-hand side. See you soon. Pause the video. Okay, so I got 525, 10, and 20. Again, look for relationships. In each one of these, the relationship was fairly easy. Turn the page. So now we have a word problem. Hold on. False alarm. Back to the problem. Before 1982, pennies were 95% zinc and 5% copper. If 100 pennies minted in 1980 have approximate mass of 15 grams of copper, what is the total mass of the pennies? Okay, so copper and copper. We've got 100 here. And it's 5%, so my 5 goes here. Now, this we don't need because we're only talking about copper. And we're going to use 15 grams of copper. Copper to total. The relationship is times 3. So there are 300 grams in 100 pennies, of which 15 grams are copper. That means if we do the subtraction, 285 grams are zinc. Thanks for listening. Get the guided practice done. Come back when you're done. Pause the video. Okay, again, cross out the double line, number lines. On today's homework, you do not have to do a double number line. Go ahead and do a proportion. So again, I set it up 20% of what, number. So I know 40 is on top, the relationship is 2, the answer is 200. 90 is 25% of what? So I had 25 over 100, I simplified that to 1 over 4, the relationship is 90, I multiply 4 times 90, get 360. Next one again, 30% is 120, that's on top, I get 400. 60 is 15% of what? I get 400. And then number 5, it's a little bit harder just because the numbers are big, but it's the same thing. So lost, lose, 20% is the same thing. So this is our loss, and this is our total value of the car. So the car was $21,000. And how do we do this? We know that they work because they're equivalent fractions. Line equal line, fraction A equals fraction B. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. See ya.